So learning how to learn and how to study better and more efficient is something that is very much worth investing in. However, it comes with an overwhelming experience of trying to determine exactly what you should change about your current studying techniques, and you don't know exactly what you should start with and what you should apply there and then. And what is even more dangerous is trying to apply everything at a go, everything you learn, because that is going to overwhelm you and that is going to probably do more harm than good. So this video is going to be a step-by-step way of reflecting on your current studying techniques and how exactly you can determine what you should add to your current studying techniques and what you should remove from your current studying techniques. So if that is something that you think is going to be helpful to you, then just stick around. Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Simon, a medical student at the University of Zambia. Now, if you haven't already, remember to subscribe, like, and also share this video with a couple of friends. So with all of that said, let's get back to the topic for today. So in order to know exactly what you should change about your current studying techniques, it is important to ask these two questions. Number one is, what is missing from my current studying techniques? And the second one is, what is wrong with my current studying techniques? Now, you cannot answer those two questions if you do not have a basic understanding of how exactly learning happens, because the goal of studying is to learn. So if you understand exactly what makes efficient studying and what makes efficient learning, it is very easy to determine which techniques are achieving that goal, and so it's very much easy to know what you should add to the techniques and also be able to remove what is inefficient. Now, I'm not going to go into details of exactly how learning happens. I talked about that in one of my previous videos, which the video was about why university is harder than secondary school. I think I explained in basic terms, according to my knowledge, how learning occurs. Okay, so now this is a very personal process. It is a reflective process because people are not going to study exactly the same. However, there are certain principles that have to be followed regardless of the variations in terms of the specific kind of techniques that has to be applied. So in order just for clarity, to make sure that we are on the on the same page, I will use an example of, let's say, an average typical student. Most people, the way they study, most people who have not been exposed a lot to studying techniques and stuff, let's say, for example, a student for current studying techniques, when learning information for the very first time, this is what they do. So they read through notes and books, that is start to finish. And after reading through, as they are reading through, they are making notes, they are capturing important points, writing them down, summarizing whatever they read and stuff. So to this, we can also add watching tutorial videos on YouTube, even attending class. We can also incorporate it there. So this is the current way of studying. So for anybody who knows the basic requirements of proper learning, you know that as you are learning information for the very first time, what is important here is how well you encode the information. Now, how well you encode the information is very, very much dependent on the kinds of techniques that you are using when studying. Now, when you look at these here, reading through notes and books from start to finish does not necessarily facilitate proper encoding, because you're just reading and hoping that the information will organize itself randomly or probably by chance into something meaningful. Okay, so that is the same with just going for class and listening out of the blues, or just popping out a tutorial video because that's the topic that you have to study, and you just search out for a tutorial video and then you start watching. So that is not enough. So from the knowledge that we have, we can incorporate new things. Now, of course, we cannot get rid of these current ones, because like completely we can't say no, we are no longer reading books and notes, we are no longer attending class and watching tutorial videos, but there's modifications which we can add to this. So one of the techniques which you can add is something which is called inquiry-based learning. So if you don't know what inquiry-based learning is, you can also watch my previous video. I talked about how you can encode information better using inquiry-based learning. So here, when I put inquiry-based learning, what I basically do is probably put kinds of priming. So guys, priming, I also explained it again in my previous video, but for the simplest way to explain it is, you are preparing your brain to consume information as fast as it can, as deeply as it can, and to make sure that it can hold on to the information for longer periods of time. So This is not going to make a lot of sense if you do not know exactly what inquiry-based learning, but I'll not go into that into details, guys. You can check the video the specific video about inquiry-based learning that I made up. So on this one, you can also add something like the Feynman technique, guys. So the Feynman technique is also a good technique that can also help you to encode information better. So basically here is we are learning information for the very first time. We have our current studying techniques. What we know is we have to encode information better. So we are choosing techniques that are going to help us encode better. Now, as I stated in most of my previous videos, things like inquiry-based learning and even the Feynman technique is a way of thinking. It's a principle. So you can apply this in a lot of ways depending on your current level of competency with the technique. So this can mean just priming, or this could simply mean asking more questions as you are learning. It is as simple as that, but those make drastic changes, and with diligent applications of these studying techniques, you can take them to higher and more advanced levels. Okay, so after you have learned the information for the very first time, we are continuing with this same example. Let's say for revision, currently, before you make any changes to your studying techniques, let's say for revision, these are the things that you do. Okay, so you reread the notes you had, you also rewatch videos, and let's say you also do some practice questions, past paper questions, or maybe end of chapter questions. Okay, so when I look at this, I realize that in order for me to be able to revise information correctly in a more efficient way, I have to use something which is called active recall. Now, if you do not know what active recall is, again, there's another video, and I think that video is on my three best studying techniques. I think that is the one which also has the Feynman technique. I'll put the link to that video in the description box below so that you can also check it out when you're done watching this one. Okay, so rereading notes and just rewatching videos, guys, is not efficient, and this is something that we want to do away with because it is just time wasting. And I'm not going to go into details exactly why this is not efficient, because there's a lot of research on this, and there's even a book, Make It Stick, which I've been recommending in most of my videos, which I think you should also check out if you haven't read that book. It's a very, very good book. Okay, so the things which we can do here in our revision is, as I said, put some active recall. So here we have one technique which includes active recall, and that is doing some practice questions. And so this is a form of active recall, and this is something that we should keep. We can do away with these two, but something that we can put to this as well is the variations in terms of the kinds of where you are using active recall. So you can implement something as easy as flashcards. They can be digital flashcards, Anki, or even Quizlet, depending on which one you are most comfortable with. My favorite is Anki. Or you can even do something like brain dumping. Basically what happens is you just go, okay, this is the topic that I have to revise. You basically write everything that you can remember about that topic before going into the notes, because that is active recall. And as you go to the notes to reread and close up all the gaps that you had forgotten, it is a much more efficient way of studying. So that is from you knowing that in order for me to revise, I have to use a form of active recall. So you basically choose the techniques that you have to use depending on the resources and the competency that you have with this. So another thing which we can add to this is something which is called interleaved practice, and also spaced repetition. Spaced repetition, I talked about it, and I also talked about how you can use active recall and spaced repetition practically in my former videos. I also put all those the links to all those videos down in the description box below. So interleaved practice is something which I've never talked about in this video, I believe, and that is something that I'm going to work on in my future videos. Very soon, actually, I'm going to produce a video about interleaving and what it is and why you should apply it. So after you have determined, so this is how you determine what is missing from your studying techniques and what you can remove, what is wrong with your studying techniques. However, after you've done all of this, what is important is to execute. Now, as you execute, guys, you have to bear in mind that when you're learning a new studying technique, mostly we are replacing studying techniques that are quite easy to do and yet not very effective with some things which are a little bit harder to do. Like active recall is harder than just rereading, guys. Even inquiry-based learning is harder than just reading notes from A to Z. So these things are going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but that's the whole purpose of growth, guys. We have to leave our comfort zone. So do not mistake the difficulty in getting the hang of these techniques as saying they do not work. Just have a little bit of patience and make sure that you are applying as simply as you can to make sure that you start getting the benefits, and you continue improving on these techniques the more you get competent at them. Alright guys, that's it for today. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, again, if you did not, remember to subscribe, remember to like this video and share it with a couple of friends. I also want you to comment down in the comment section below. That comment section is for you guys. I want to hear your thoughts, counter thoughts, new techniques that you think I should check up, questions. I'm also looking forward to those. So see you next time.